good morning or afternoon, whatever it happens to be for you. So we're going to go over let's go over the EQ lab. So some of this is a repetition from class, but the way I learned how to equalize something was by matching a previous recording, or matching a recording that I was making to a previous recording. Here's what happened. I was actually recording a pianist, and she had recorded some stuff, I believe, in the Los Angeles area, in a different studio with a different engineer, with different mics, a different piano. Everything was different. She had recorded, it was like a 3 or 4 movement, something or other. I don't even know who the composer was. But she had recorded, like, let's say it's 3 movements. She had recorded 2 movements with the other studio. And then she came to me like a year and a half later and wanted to finish the piece, right? So the first 2 movements were over there. And then she came to me with everything completely different. All the equipment was different. The concert hall that she was recording in was different. The mics, everything was different. The engineer was different. And so what I had to do was of course, you can't have 2 movements of a piece sound one way and the third one sound a totally different ways, right? So that third movement, what I did was I had to actually match as best I could with the recording, with the microphones and everything that I was using. I had to try to match that recording to the previous 2 movements, right? And then when I went to finish mixing and finish polishing off the recording, I had to use equalizers to make it sound like the other one, right? So it was kind of tough, right? But I learned a lot about equalization, right? And so this lab's got a lot of that kind of stuff in there. I'll show you here in a second, right? But a couple of things about equalization, and I mentioned this in class, but a couple of things about equalization is when you're recording something, you don't want to have to rely on equalizers to get your sound, right? Ideally, if the musician, the artist sounds good, their instruments sound good, they're in tune and all that kind of stuff, ideally what you want to do is record them the way they really are. You don't want to fiddle with their sound. And in classical music, of course, it's they know instantly when you're fiddling with their sound, right? These are people who've been let's say playing their violin since they were 2-3 years old and been working on their sound, and they know what they want to sound like, and they know when you're fiddling with stuff, right? And so the idea here is, for them and for me as the recording engineer, for you too, I suppose, is to record them as they really are. You don't want to add this or add that. You want to record them as they really are. Just capture exactly what they are, right? If at all possible, right? And so when you go to record something, right, you don't want to have to rely on equalization. What you really want to do is find the correct microphones to use for that situation, put them in the right place in the room for that situation, and then put the mics in the right spot to pick up their sound as best you can, right? My famous mixer dude friend of mine, live sound famous mixer dude, he goes, "He who EQs least EQs best," right? The idea is you want to get the sound that you're recording with the microphones, with microphone choice, with microphone placement, and all that sort of stuff. What really should be happening, if you've got enough time, and most of the time you do, let's say you're recording a vocalist, right? And they get into the studio, you put a microphone in front of them, they sing or whatever, they're going to be doing a voiceover, I don't know, right? You listen, right? And if that microphone doesn't sound right, then you move the microphone or you move the person, right? And you keep moving it and moving it and moving it until it sounds just right. And then if it still doesn't sound right, maybe you've chosen the wrong microphone. So then you got to go get yourself a new microphone and then start the process all over again, right? That said, sometimes you're going to have to use equalization, whether it's hardware or software, like I'm going to show you here, right? But again, try to get your sound with a microphone and microphone placement, microphone choice and placement, rather than with equalizers, right? So I'm going to show you guys here, all right? we got here. So we've got a bunch of different equalizers here. This is a 4-band equalizer that I've got. This is the one that comes with Pro Tools. I mean, sorry, 5-band equalizer, right? This one here has 2 filters. This is a high-pass filter, which cuts out the lows. Here's a low-pass filter that cuts out the highs, right? And then we've got the super lows, the low mids, the high mids, and then finally the super highs, right? We're not going to be using this one here, right? We're going to use a 1-band version of this. But look at here, right? I've got this guy here. This is a little graphic EQ. I don't even know who makes it, and I've never used it before. It's just something that I got because some software that I bought. So there it is. Or maybe I think this might have come with my Focusrite claret that my wife got for me for Christmas. If there's that, we're not going to be using that one. But check this out. This is kind of cool. This is a software reproduction, if you will, of a mixing console. We're going to talk about mixing consoles in the next class, but this is basically a channel strip, a software version of an actual channel strip from a solid-state logic mixer, a 4000E, right? And again, a lot of knobs, a lot of stuff here, right? But again, this all starts to look familiar. It looks a little bit different, or it looks a lot different from that one that you saw, the one that came with Pro Tools. This one, by the way, does not come with Pro Tools, but it functions the same. It has the same controls, right? And we're not going to use that one. We're going to use something much simpler, right? So let me get rid of this stuff here. Out it goes. This one goes away. This one goes away as well. I'm going to change something. Let me get rid of that one. All right. So here's how you put an EQ on this on stuff, right? I'm going to come over here and put it on this guy right here. Actually, let's listen for a second here, right? So this is the lab, right? And so I've got pairs. Most of this is I've got pairs of things. One of them sounds good. The other doesn't sound so good. Now here's the thing. What I did was just to make it easier for you guys. The idea here is to match these, right? So you want to take the bad one and make it sound like the good one, right? Now you're not going to be able to get it exactly. I won't be able to get it exactly sounding like the good one, but you can get it pretty close, right? I don't want you to get frustrated because it doesn't sound exactly. It doesn't have to sound exactly, but you get it sounding in the ballpark of the good one, right? What I did was I took a various, the top one of every pair of these guys is something that I either recorded or I put together in somehow or another. The top one is the good one, right? And then what I did was I actually messed up the good one. I made it not so good by doing things to it, right? And so what you're going to try to do is make the not so good one or the bad one sound like it originally sounded before I messed it up for you guys, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to get an EQ, right? And you're going to, well, let's listen to it, right? Here we go. So this is this guy. It's like a little hi-hat thing. All right, so here's the not so good one. I'm going to show you a little trick here if you're using Pro Tools, right? I'm going to show you a trick right quick. Just to make it easy, I've got this one soloed. Soloed meaning this is the only thing we hear, right? But watch this. When I click on that one, the solo on the top one goes away and it stays on the bottom one, right? I'm going to show you, if you have Pro Tools, I'm going to go to the options menu and I'm going to come down here to where it says solo mode down here, right? And right now I've got what's called XOR. It cancels the previous solo, meaning it's behaving the way like this. When I got that and I come down here, I solo it and it cancels the one that was before. The latch, if I come up here and do latch, most of the time you're going to be doing latch, where you're going to be soloing and you can add solos like this one here. But for this lab, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want XOR. Solo mode, I'm going to click on XOR. Right. Whatever software, if you're not using Pro Tools and you've got some other kind of software like GarageBand or something, there's probably a similar thing you can do there, right? Anyway, let's listen to this guy here. Here's the bad one. Good one. So they sound a little bit different. To me, it sounds like the not so good one, the green one, has a little less highs, right? So let's go ahead and add some highs to this guy right here, right? Now, if you remember from class, there's two ways to do this, right? Let me pull up an EQ. So this is how you do it in Pro Tools. In your insert, in the mix window, in the edit window, right? You're going to click on this little chiclet here, and I click that. We'll talk about what insert is in next class. But I click that, and I hit EQ, right? What we want is the simple one, because nothing here is too complex. I didn't make it complex. I'm going to go to EQ, right? And I'm going to click on EQ one band. There we go. And you should be able to make the green one sound similar to the blue one with just a one band EQ. I'm going to turn this off right here because it's blinding me. Here we go, right? So just to get my bearings here. So remember, there's a shelving EQ, right? And then there's what they call either a bell or a peak dip EQ, right? So this one is a shelving. You see, it says shelf. This one is a peak dip or a bell, right? Again, from class, if I go to peak dip and I turn it up like this, right, or I turn it down, it turns down just a portion of, all right, a portion of the sound, right, just a portion of the frequencies. Right now, the portion of frequencies, the grouping of frequencies that it's going to affect is around, 1,000 hertz. That dot is at 1,000 hertz. If I move the dot, it moves around, right? Excuse me. This is a parametric EQ, right? So this is the boost cut. This is how much I turn it up or turn it down. This is the frequency selector. And of course, you can drag it here like this. This is the Q. This is the Q, or the bandwidth, right? Watch what happens. It gets narrow or it gets wide. Right. There's a lot of loud women in my house. You could probably hear them. Anyway, they'll be included in the loud women are included in the lab video, no extra charge. So anyway, you guys get the idea here, right? So there it is, right? So that's a peak dip. If I come over here and hit shelving, it's a little bit different. Instead of a central point with frequencies included, it's above a corner frequency right here, right? Again, I can move that around, or I can turn it up or down, right? So it's a difference. So here's the way to think about it. If there's something specific about the sound, you're listening and you're going, I'm not sure about that. If there's something specific, there's a frequency that's bothering me, you're going to want to use peak dip. If it's a sort of a general thing like, oh, it's not bright enough, or it's a little dull, or it's too bright, or there's too boomy, right? Those are general terms, right? Then probably shelving is the thing for you, right? And in this case, right, let me put it back to normal, right? In this case, I'm hearing that the green was a little bit dull, right? So that's a general thing. I think I'm going to go with shelving, right? So here's this one here. There we go. Let's listen. Let's compare. This one, the green one down here, it's almost the same, but it's missing a little bit. I think it needs a little bit, it just needs to go a little bit higher, right? The blue one is a little bit brighter, has a little more instead of see? So I'm going to move this up a little bit more and turn it up. Too much. Pull it back. Here we go. Even higher. A little bit too much. Pull it back a little bit. That's pretty close. Not exact, but it's pretty close. All right? Hope that's making sense, right? Well, there we go. Good. All right, we've got that one solved. Let's move on to this guitar down here. All right? Now, this one's a little tougher. All right? So the green one has got like a weird frequency. This one sounds normal, just like a regular old just guitar that somebody's playing. But this one's got this weird little wah, 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 wah kind of squawky sound. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. So instead of using shelving, right, there's something very specific that I don't like about that sound. And there's a weird squawky sound. So that's not shelving. That's going to be a bell or a peak dip, you know. So I'm going to, again, come over here, get an EQ, click here, EQ. I'm going to use the same Pro Tools one, right? Again, you don't need to use anything but this one here, right? So there's a frequency that I don't like, and I'm trying to get rid of. And so, here we go, right? So, how are we going to find that frequency? Well, there's a couple of different ways. Again, this is something I talked about in class, but let's go over it again. What you can do is a couple of different things. You can sort of, now here's the thing, you're going to have to guess at this until you get quite a bit of experience. And even with a lot of experience, even the most famous mixer dude or mixer dudette, they're going to have, they're going to guess, right? And so the difference between them and you is that they'll guess quicker than you, but everybody's got to sort of guess and figure it out, right? So the way you do it is you can come over here and turn this down. Turn it to make an extreme move, turn this way down, right? And you can sweep this through, right? And when you don't hear that annoying frequency anymore, you know you've got it, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow this a little bit so it's more obvious to it, and we can adjust it a little bit later on. So there we go. Right? So I'm going to start all the way here at the bottom, right? Again, I'm just guessing, right? That wah 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 still there. Let me move this guy up. Hear that wah. Still there. It's getting closer though. Ooh. Now I'm going to bypass it. Yeah. See how that works, right? You just start at the bottom. Again, I'm just guessing and I'm just moving my frequency selector, this guy right here. I'm just moving it along slowly, right? And when I land on that annoying frequency, it goes away. And when it goes away, I go, oh, okay, it's gone, right? Here's another way of doing it, just doing it the opposite, right? I want to bring this, instead of turning it way down and listening for when it's gone, what I can do is I can turn it way up like this, right? And when I actually land on it, it'll be like super, it won't be just a little annoying, it'll be like really annoying, right? So again, you're making it super obvious to yourself, where I'm making it obvious for myself when I've landed on that thing. So let me scoot down here, right? that sort of like that, right? So I think we're kind of there, right? So then I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm just going to turn it down. Let's hear it. Yeah, see? So my famous mixer dude friend that says, he who EQs less EQs best. He's like, the thing about EQ is just all you really want to do is get rid of the schmutz, right? And that's kind of what we're doing. We're just trying to get rid of the things that are annoying. We don't want to annoy our audience, right? So we're getting rid of the things that are annoying. So get rid of the schmutz. That's what we're looking to do for the most part, right? So there you go, got rid of the schmutz. Here's another way of doing this very same thing, right? Now, I don't know about your DAW, but in Pro Tools, there's a shortcut. If you hit a bunch of keys and do something, it helps you find the frequencies easier, right? So I call it seek and destroy, right? So if I hold the Control key and the Shift key at the same time, and then move this frequency selector, look what happens. It makes a bandpass filter. So it's getting rid of everything. It gets rid of everything except that one particular frequency. In this case, it's 319, right? See? Again, this is just a way of finding that annoying frequency, finding the schmutz that we can get rid of, right? So it's basically like turning it way up and moving it around, right? But it's a little cleaner, it's a little easier to hear, right? So seek and destroy. I don't know how your DAW does it, but this is the way you do this one. That's if you're on a Mac, you hold Control and Shift down, right? And you sweep the frequency selector. If you're on Windows, you hold the Windows key or the Start button, the Start key, and Shift, right? By the way, on the Mac, actually, by the way, the shortcut keys, whenever you see a shortcut on a Mac, right, the way it maps out on Windows is the Command key on the Mac maps to the Control key on Windows, right? The Option key on the Mac maps to the Alt key on Windows. Of course, on the Mac, the Option key is also labeled Alt, right? So Command equals Control on Windows, Option on Mac equals Alt on Windows, and the Control key on the Mac is the maps to the Windows key or the Start key on Windows, right? That's how you can. So when I'm going through here and you're seeing my shortcuts, you kind of know, how to do that, right? These guys right there. So that's the Command on the Mac. That would be Control D on Windows, right? Anyway, back to this, right? Oops, move something around. All right, so that was Command Z, by the way, getting it back. All right. So let's listen, all right? Let's do the seek and destroy. I'm moving all the way down here, and then I'm going to. By the way, why don't I hear anything? Well, because there's nothing down there. Listening for that ugly frequency. Getting close. Yeah. Woo! That sucks. Right? Yeah? Bypass it? I think I've got rid of it. All right? I hope that makes sense, right? Let's try something else. Here's another one. Guitar 2. That's the good one. Ooh. So here's what we got to think. Is it too dull or is it too boomy? Right? Is it the problem there's not enough highs, or is the problem that it has too many lows, right? Is the glass half full or is it half empty, right? You get the idea. So you can approach this a couple of different ways. You can boost the highs, right? Or you can attenuate the lows, right? Back to my famous mixer dude friend that talks about EQ. The way he talks about it is, well, he's coming from a live sound perspective. And this is actually good practice in the studio what you want to do instead of adding frequencies, what you'd rather do is take away, right? So yes, this is lacking highs, or it just has too many lows, right? So taking his approach, let's cut some of the lows, right? Here we go, back to this EQ. Now, once again, I'm going to think to myself, do I want to use a shelving EQ? Or do I want to use a shelving EQ like this one here, right? Or maybe a low one. Do I want to use a shelving EQ, or do I want to use peak dip? Well, I'm listening to it, and there's not really a specific frequency that's bothering me. What's bothering me is there's just too much low end, right? So I'm thinking shelving is what I want to use, right? Here we go. So I'm going to click here where it says shelving, low shelf, right? And I'm going to, well, I'm just going to try it. Right? Again, to get my bearings. Let's try it. Now the volume's low because I need to turn this up to make it. Still too many lows. Whoa, sorry. There we go. Sorta. It's not exact, but it's close. Now I'm adjusting the volume of that because I'm taking lows out, right? I'm taking energy out of the system, so it's not going to be as loud, right? And so there we go, right? Not exactly, but pretty close, right? There we go. Let's try this bass one. I think this was a little tough. And here's the not so good one. Let's get rid of that. You know, this one's kind of tough, so we're going to have to do some guessing. I don't remember what I did to it. So we're going to try to figure out. So there's a couple of ways I'm thinking I'm going to approach this. Let's try adding some lows to it, right? That's the original one. Seems like it's missing some lows, so let me try that. So I'm going to try a shelving, right? Come over here, click, EQ, same thing, one band. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this, but I'm going to choose this thing here and turn it up. I'm going to start way down here. Again, I'm methodical about this. I want to sweep it from the low all the way and start moving it through, right? Okay. Let's compare. Not too bad. Okay. It's another sound. I'm going to move this up just a little bit higher, right? See if I can get it sounding just the way it needs to be. Now it's too much. Let me put it back down. Maybe add it, just turn it up the lows a little bit more. go, right? Not exact, but pretty close. One more time. Good one. The fixed one. Maybe a little bit too much of that. But there we go, right? So here we go, regular kick, right? Here's what I call good kick. Now, I'm hoping you guys are listening with some decent headphones. You could even do this with earbuds, honestly. It's you don't need like super duper, anything like these guys here that I've got. But you're not using these like computers, these computer speakers that I got here. It won't work. You're not going to hear it, right? So at the very least, get some earbuds, like the Apple ones or whatever, right? Or whatever came with your phone or whatever, right? But yes, you have to use something halfway decent. Here's the kick. Here's regular kick. Here's good kick. Here's bad kick. Yeah, it sounds like it's missing some low end, doesn't it? Let's compare it to this one here. So let's go back here. Let me get myself an EQ. One band EQ. And again, it's just lacking low end. It's a general thing. It's not like a specific frequency. So I'm going to use a shelving. I'm going to start with shelving. Again, it's the low end, so I'm going to click low shelf. All right? There you go. Let me move it down. Ooh. Ooh. Let's compare. Ooh. Not quite. Compared to this guy. There's still that weird frequency that I don't like. Like that We'll try a couple of different things. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, there's a weird frequency that I don't like, right? There's that, the cheap, I call it the cheap frequency. I'll show you here. I'm going to use seek and destroy, right? So I'm, again, Control Shift, right? Hit play, Control Shift, E, like that, whatever that is. I just got lucky there. I just moved it, happened to move it, right? See if we can get rid of that. Ooh, there we go. Oh, there you go. I promise I'm getting kind of lucky. It's better to be lucky than to be good. So there you go. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You too can get lucky. Let me pull a little bit more out of this. There we go. There you go. All right, that's what it was. Okay. So again, I made the mistake by thinking it was a shelving thing, like it wasn't too much, wasn't enough low end, but really what was going on, it was like an annoying frequency. And you'll figure it out pretty quick, right? So I was like, yeah, well, okay, I made a mistake. Let me try something else, right? So it was just that annoying thing. By the way, I guess I did this on purpose at some point when I first came up with this EQ. Notice that frequency right there. If you're recording a kick drum, right? Like a real kick drum. I'm not talking about a sample or something. But if you're recording a kick drum, pretty much 600, anywhere around, somewhere around 600 hertz, you're gonna probably end up getting rid of it. I mean, that's rock and roll number one. That's rock and roll rule number one, right? For that. Now jazz, maybe not, right? But definitely country, rock, metal, anything like that, even a lot of hip hop, you're going after 600, you're gonna get rid of it. Right? Well, not get rid of it, just subdue it a little bit like I did here. Right? So put that in just file that away. 600 hertz. when you're recording a kick drum, 600 hertz, get rid of it. All right, let's listen to some snare. Get rid of that. Here we go, regular snare. Good snare. Sounds a lot like a regular snare, actually. Okay. Yeah, they sound pretty close, right? A little bit different. But here's bad snare. What's the difference there? Could be one or two things. It could be like the kick drum where there's an annoying frequency, there's too much of it, or it could be that we just don't have enough low end, right? So let's try the easiest one first. Let's try the shelving. It needs a little bit more low end, let's say, all right? One band EQ. Come down here somewhere. I don't know. Let's turn it up. Oop, shelving. Again, I'm just guessing. I'm just going to move this until I hear it. Ooh. Nope. Now it's starting to sound like wop, wop, wop. I don't like it. Somewhere in there. Let's turn it up even more. Let's compare. Move it down a little bit. Turn it up some more. All right, so there's that one, right? Pretty close, not quite, right? I'm gonna bypass that one and come back to it. I'm gonna save that one. So bypass means it's not actually active, right? So I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna try the peak dip. Let me see if I can find, maybe it's an annoying frequency. Let me try if I can go after it. Here. EQ, one band. Again, seek and destroy. Control, shift. Just listening. I don't like that. Let's see if we can get rid of it. See what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Oof, sorry. It's close. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Let me move it up a little bit. Nah, I think this one, so let's bypass this one. Let's pull this guy back up and unbypass. I think we're better here. Oops. Close. Here's bad snare number 2. Let's try this guy and compare it to the good snare. Here's good snare. Bad snare. Ooh. I'm not sure. Let's EQ it and see what happens. Let's use a shelving EQ and add some more highs. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to use a high shelf. Compare. Move it up a little bit. Nope. The top end sounds good. The high frequencies sound close, but there's still something lacking in the lows. See if you guys can fix it. Let's go over here. Here's a recording that I made in a studio. There was a problem with the studio, and this is very common in a lot of studios where the low frequencies were not actually true, meaning they weren't accurate. So I wasn't hearing enough low end. When we talk about acoustics, we'll come back to this one, but what was happening is when I was mixing and I was listening to the speakers, the room was actually, believe it or not, canceling the low frequencies, getting rid of them, right? So I wasn't hearing enough, and so what I was doing is boosting those low frequencies, right? So it turns out when I bring it home or listen to it in my car, there's too much low end, right? So I want you guys to equalize this. I want you guys to equalize this song. It's a full band. You hear that low end? There's way too much bass there. Now, the bass is at the right volume. It's just that the bass has too much lows in it, and there's too much low end in the kick drum. Well, we can't fix anything. I can't remix this now, right? I don't know where those audio files are. But what we can do is fix this mix, right? So what we're going to do is we can fiddle around with it, get rid of some of the low end, like this, using a shelving. Even it out a little bit. So anyway, there's a few other things that could be done. Maybe you could add a little bit of highs or take away this. There's a little bit of something annoying in the mid-range. You can get rid of some of that, right? So what you can do is go through there and add, just put a different one-band EQ if you want to, right? And get rid of this, whatever, maybe it's the mid-range, I don't know, right? And then do another one, right? And add some more highs. So massage this song. You can't change it too drastically, right? But massage this song to where the frequency balance is a little bit better, especially down low in the low end, right? By the way, when you're mastering stuff, this is what you're doing. You don't get all the tracks. What you get is this, the song, and you got to make the song sound as best it can. So somebody was talking about mastering. Well, why do you need to master? Well, this is why, because somebody was mixing it in a control room that wasn't, the room itself was not accurate. It was giving me faulty information, and I was making bad decisions, right? Anyway, go ahead and master that song. See if you guys can make it sound a little bit better. Then, of course, here's like a little thing that I did the other day. I recorded this for you guys, and again, I want you guys to make it sound as best as it possibly can. Make it as dramatic. Do whatever you want to it. Make it sound however you think it should sound. Again, listen to the words. Now here's what's important. When you're EQing things, anything that you do, when you're mixing, making something louder or softer, you have to consider, the big thing is you have to consider how the audience is going to, how's it going to impact the audience? What kind of emotional impact is this going to have on them, right? And so, excuse me, you can make this sound a bunch of different ways with equalization. Just try it. Just fart around with it. There's no grade that I'm going to assign you for EQing this poem. I want you to play with it, and I want you to see what the effects are, right? If I do this or I do that, using shelving, using a peaking, whatever it is, experiment. Spend a few minutes, if not more than a few minutes, playing with this guy, right? Strange, beautiful, grass of green, with your majestic silver seas. Your mysterious mountains I wish to see closer. May I land my kinky machine. Although your world wonders me with your majestic and superior cackling hen, your people I do not understand. So to you I shall put an end, and you'll never hear surf music again. Come on, man. Let's go home. All right, so there you go, right? So that's what you guys are going to do. There's the EQ lab. Hope you have fun. Make it happen, right? So those of you who don't have Pro Tools, I'm going to give you the audio files and you'll just import them into your DAW and just equalize them in your DAW, right? And then again, just like the same thing, I want you to, you know what, actually, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to take this thing here and I want you to save it. I want to see this, yeah, I want to see the session, right? Now, depending on what DAW you happen to be using, it might be different. So I'm not exactly sure how you're going to make this happen. But here is how I'm going to make it happen in Pro Tools, right? What you need to do is you need to send me the entire session, right? So we're going to back this up, right? So again, backing up, file, save, copy in. I'm going to gather all this stuff and send it to me, right? Actually, let me do this thing here. Let me do something here. Let me get rid of all these guys here. Because I'm going to get this ready for you guys. So I'm going to send this to you guys, and you're going to send it. You're going to fart around with it and send it back to me, right? So here's what we're going to do, right? I'm going to let's go over here. I'm going to get rid of all these EQs. I'll get rid of all this stuff here. I think we're clean. All right, there we go. I'll save that. I did Command S. That's how I saved. All right. So now that it's saved, what we're going to do is we're going to go File, Save. That's not what I wanted. Sorry. Clicking a little bit too quick. File, Save, Copy in. And here we go. So you guys can see. Make sure you click Audio Files. Right? Then we're going to say OK. Then it's going to prompt me and it's going to say, hey, Dan, where do you want to put this? Right? And I'm going to say, let's put it on session backup files. I'm going to put it, here we go. I'm just going to put it down here somewhere, right? Oops. Audio one somewhere, down here somewhere, right? It's going to be a copy of, I'm going to say, there we go. That'll work, all right? EQ Lab. I'm going to call it EQ Lab. There we go. Audio 1 EQ Lab, and we don't need that V2 business. All right, so it's just going to go right here. All right. Oops, you can't see that. It's doing its thing. There we go. Right. So it's been backed up. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and quit Pro Tools. There you go. And so there we go. And so then I'm going to come over here to Session Backup Files. Where did it go? Oh, you know what? It's probably... Where did I put it? What did I do with it? I thought I put it over here. Oh, well. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, I went up there. There you go. That's it. Cool. Yeah, there it is. So there it is, right? So what I'm going to do here is This is what you guys are gonna have to do. I can't just send this, right, to you guys, right? And you can't send it just to me because there's a bunch of junk in there, right? You can't do that. What you need to do is compress it, right? So I'm gonna zip it, right? So if you're on Windows, that's a different, I can't show you because I don't have a Windows machine. But what I'm gonna do on the Mac is I'm gonna right click the folder and I'm gonna say compress, right? And it's compressing it, turning it into a zip file. So what zipping does, compressing, it actually puts everything together in one monolithic file that then I can just email that to you guys, right? Or send it however, right? So what you guys are gonna do is you're gonna email that, a file like that to me, right? Please put your name on it, right? So I know. Some of you guys are turning in homework and you don't put your names on stuff. You gotta put your name, and I know that you're getting, you're sending it to me from within the email, and I know who it is with the email, but once I download it and put it in the folder, I don't know whose it is, right? So please label your homework. Now, let me say this. What I just did there, this is super, super duper ultra common. This happens all the time, whether we're talking about music, sending session files, a session or a backup session or a voiceover. So many things are done remotely or collaboratively, right? And people don't have to be in the same city, right? You guys know that, right? So emailing stuff, FTPing stuff to people, right? So what I just did there is super ultra common in the audio industry, right? So get used to doing this, right? So get used to turning something into a zip file, and get used to emailing that zip file with your name on it. If you want to get paid, you got to put your name on there, right? So there you go. So I'm going to put that on Blackboard, and I will see you guys in class. All right, bye-bye.